I was so conflicted in my early 20s about what it is that I wanted to do. I ended up doing something that ultimately was a waste of time. Love can be a waste of time in your early 20s. That was a waste of my early 20s. I spent so much of my time catering to this person and not enough time figuring out who I am. Hello everybody, I am Jack, or JC if you are a long time subscriber here, and if you are new, welcome. We are glad to have you. You good? All right. Okay, I'm actually nervous to make this video, so that means I probably should make it. As the title suggests, I'm going to be getting a bit more personal and talking to you about how I wasted my early 20s. I'm going to start off saying, although I'm going to give some real examples of how I wasted my early 20s, I do want to say that my 20s in general have been and are a net positive for sure. I have made some amazing friends, amazing connections, even for seasons. I've had some life-changing, life-transforming moments, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I think there's something in being able to look back at past failures, past wins, and see what you could have done better, and perhaps giving that advice to other people that are looking to do so. I can 100% admit that I was tied to my comfort zone, and that absolutely held me back. It held me back from things that I could have accomplished, I'm sure, sooner than I did. But that's life. Most things are balanced. There's sometimes you win, and there's sometimes you learn, okay? There's sometimes you win a lot, and there's sometimes you lose a lot. But usually that loss comes with a lesson. And that's what this video is about. I'm gonna be going through the losses, but ultimately the losses I translate into lessons. Trying to force myself to be who I thought my parents wanted me to be. So I am first generation Nigerian American, and I'm sure many people can relate to this in terms of perhaps their parents also being immigrants and having a certain image of the American dream, a certain image of what is a respectable stand-up thing to do, and trying in a way to conform to that, whether or not you agreed with it. A prime example of this is that I spent 4 years in engineering school. If you do not know, I have a bachelor's in science. I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering that I received and that I found myself doing because I was trying to do the thing and be the thing that I believed that my parents wanted me to be. For me, I try to be a very balanced person. One thing about me, and one thing that I've always had on my side and in my favor, is the fact that I'm 100% an optimistic person. Don't get me wrong, I can definitely see when there are some L's. The best way to get a W is to assess the L's. So I'm going to be splitting each thing that I talk about into the pros and the cons, and then giving you the lesson that I think that you can take with you from this video. Back to engineering. A con, and what I could consider when I look back at something that maybe was a waste, is the fact that I spent 4 years in one of the hardest, grueling, breaking courses that I literally could have taken. That was one of the hardest periods in my academic history by far. I spent hours upon hours of my day trying to figure out math problems in a basement in my university, because the engineering department, the mechanical engineering department, was in a basement. We had no windows. Hours and hours and hours of my life that I will never get back, trying to fit into this mold and getting through this course that ultimately I do not use any of those things that I learned in terms of the specifics of mechanical engineering. I use nothing of those in what I am ultimately doing now. I spent 4 years knowing, not only just doing the engineering, but knowing that it wasn't my passion, and hoping that ultimately once I graduated, I would find myself in this comfortable, cushy life as an engineer, or even in finance. Like, how unmotivated and unpassionate I was about this was that I didn't even see myself doing anything engineering related. Like, my classmates would talk about how they saw themselves going into these fields and this field that was mechanical engineering related, like NASA and all these things, Boeing, and I would listen to them and know that in my heart that I had no interest in doing any of that. And I was still trying to figure out, while doing engineering school, what exactly I could do. And I ultimately stumbled upon, I would be fine doing finance, I would be fine doing consulting, I would be fine doing this, I would be fine doing anything but that. And I can honestly say that now, that it's a waste, because of the next part that I'm going to talk about, which are the pros. For me, there's always going to be an upside, okay? I always say this as a joke to my friends, like, Look, I can take a compliment out of anything, okay? And I've had some people say some questionable things. Some people comment things like, oh, you look like, and I'm like, now that could be a burn, but that person has some really clear skin. So I can see what you mean. I can see exactly what you're talking about, you know what I mean? The major pro of my 4 years in engineering school is that I finished engineering school. I graduated, okay, from an engineering program, a mechanical engineering program. One of the hardest things ever for me to wrap my head around. I did it. I can't even tell you how much of a major confidence boost that was for me, especially at that time in my life. Like in your early 20s, you're trying to figure yourself out. You think you have a handle on yourself because technically you are an adult, but you're still trying to figure out exactly what it is about you and what you're made of and the kind of stuff you're made of. And honestly, graduating from that course made me know that I am made of some strong stuff, okay? God saw me through that. Despite the fact that I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I have what it takes. Imposter syndrome left and right. First of all, sitting in classrooms like, I have no idea what this teacher is saying and I'm completely lost, but I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna study, I'm gonna take the test to the best of my ability. I set out to do something and I completed it. And I understand that's not everybody's journey. Like everybody, there's some people that get into a university or get into a college and they do not finish the course because they decide, hey, something else is better for them. That in and of itself would be a huge confidence boost as well, because you're doing something that is going against the grain. For me, that wasn't my particular journey. My particular journey was to finish. Of course, I would be crazy if I did not mention the people that I met on my journey, in my engineering school, in my school at large. The people that I met, yo, if you're watching, shout out to you, yo. Like, shout out to all my friends that I made in college, okay? That was my terrible Canadian accent. Again, early 20s, in a college, most grueling time of my life, but also connections and friendships that are legitimately priceless, that I legitimately would never want to trade for anything. Even some of those friendships and relationships that did not continue, just meeting people, connecting with those people at the time that I was supposed to connect with. That is something that I would never trade for the world, and I'm so happy and so grateful and so glad that I did get into the college that I got into, and I did get to connect with the people that I got to connect with, even if the greater circumstance, okay, was because I was trying to, in a way, follow what I thought my parents wanted me to be. I actually went back to school to get my master's in, you guessed it, fine arts. Okay, I'm a fine arts babe, all right? Went back to get my master's in fine arts to finally pursue what it is that I had in my heart, the real passion that I have, which is creating, which is artistic, which is very much so that field. So in performing arts, acting. And had I not gone through 4 years, okay, 4 long years of doing something that I was not so interested or passionate about in a university, and then poetic justice, being able to apply to that same university and then being accepted into a program for what I actually wanted to do, I got to come back to this environment that I loved, that shaped me so much in my early 20s, in my later 20s, and relive and discover it from a whole different angle, and more importantly, gain an appreciation that I don't think I would have had I not gone through those first 4 years in my early 20s. And if we're gonna be honest, if I'm really gonna be honest, doing engineering first, I really think was a huge flex for me to get into grad school. I think people were so enamored with the idea that, wait, you did engineering and now you want to do acting. It definitely gave me an edge that I think separated me from a lot of the other candidates, and ultimately I think helped me get into the program that was right for me. I don't want to spend forever on that, but I do want to touch on the lesson and what I hope that you watching this, that might be in your early 20s, or even if you're in your later 20s, the stage that I'm in, what I want you to take from this is that yes, that stage in my life had cons, and the stage in your life may feel like there's cons and like you're wasting your early 20s, but there will be pros. You're going to look back at that time, at this time in your life, and you're going to be able to evaluate and see where all those cons actually turned into things that you needed to go through in order to become the woman or the man, if a man is watching this, that you were meant to become. I also want you to know that most people do not know. Although they may look like they have it all together, they don't know. Especially in your early 20s, they don't know what they want to do. And so you not having it all together, you not knowing at this early age in your life what you want to, I don't know, commit the rest of your life to, the rest of your adult career to, you not being sure about that when you first get into school or when you first graduate high school or whenever, that is normal. So if you feel like right now you're doing things that you know your parents want you to do, but it's just not what you feel in your heart, there's also nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna be that person and I'm going to say it. I am glad that I latched on to what I thought my parents wanted me to be. If your parents love you and they want the best for you, whatever idea they have for you, it's not going to steer you wrong. But for the most part, parents are going to lead you in a direction that is safe and that is stable. And if you don't know what it is exactly that you want to do yet, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with the safe, stable choice until you figure out how you want to, you know, shake some stuff up. Self-doubt and comfort zone. In my early 20s, I held myself back from doing many things that who knows where it could have led me at this point in my life. Who knows what I could have birthed from that thing if I had just gone for it. If the fear to fail wasn't there, where those things could have led me now, what I could have been doing with them, how that could have manifested and turned, and God could have blessed me with so much more. Who knows? I don't know. But I do know that I held myself back from doing a multitude of things because I was doubtful. I was doubtful in my ability to complete it. I was doubtful in my ability to complete it well. So for you, it could be something as simple as, let's say, the fear of doing things alone. Your comfort zone is having your group of friends around. Your comfort zone is the people from my high school are going to this college. I'm comfortable with them. I'm gonna follow them to this college. I really wanna try out this restaurant. I really wanna start this thing. I really wanna develop this, but I don't have people backing me. I don't have people saying that they will join me. I don't have people necessarily cheering me on from the beginning. It's gonna make me look uncool. It's gonna make me look like a loser if I'm there alone, and what are people gonna think and what are people gonna say? Things like that. That is self-doubt. That is wanting to stay in your comfort zone, and ultimately it was a waste of time. What I can say about myself is that college was an amazing place for me to slowly start getting over that. And yes, college technically was my early 20s, and so I started kind of finding myself moving out of that. So one of the prime examples that I can use, and people that knew me from college know that I was on a step team. Now, the thing some people don't know or might not know is that I wanted to join a step team in high school. There was this great step team in my high school, but because I hadn't joined it in my first year, and when I developed the desire to join it, it was around like junior, senior year, and people had already known me as kind of being in the theater club or being the math and physics girl. I felt like I didn't have the pizzazz to join it. That held me back from joining something that I was really interested in joining. When I came to college and that opportunity presented itself to join a step team that was going to be created for the first time in my university, I jumped at the opportunity. None of the friends that I had were in the step team, but I made friends in the step team. Once I was a part of it, I was a part of it, and I made friends in that way. On top of just doing the things that you're interested in and not holding yourself back from doing those things, it also helps you with social skills. Social skills are very important, especially when you get older. If I had put myself out there more in my early 20s, I would be an expert networker, I'm sure by now. I wouldn't get that anxiety behind it. So what I can say though are pros that I have felt and found, especially now that I am in my later 20s. I found myself doing something that I never thought that I would do. So recently I went on a solo trip to Jamaica, and this will forever be a highlight of my life, okay? Because of the fact that I had told so many people prior that I would never do a solo trip. I want to go someplace with someone. I'm gonna go with and I was holding myself back for what? Anyone who's ever planned a trip together, because again, in my early 20s, I did go on vacation, but I went with friends, like spring break. I would have never gone anywhere alone in my early 20s. And so where we went was dependent on the group. So everything I did was kind of dependent in terms of travel, especially dependent on who was around me and where they wanted to go and where we could all agree on going. Now, I don't give a dang, okay, where anyone else wants to go. Where do I want to go? And I start planning that trip, and if someone wants to join, then cool. If not, I still have always wanted to go to, I don't know, Timbuktu, let's say. So I'm gonna go to Timbuktu with or without you. Bars. Bending over backwards to be loved. I know people that had like really loving, deep loves in their early 20s, loves lost in their early 20s. I've seen it from romantic and I've seen it from the friendship side. And although I haven't had much firsthand experience, I know that that is quite rare. I feel like a lot of you watching this in your early 20s, late 20s, whenever, can relate to having something like that and something so real. So I did want to touch on that. There's always lessons to be learned with love. So this could be helpful no matter what age you're in. When you're in your early 20s, you are so preoccupied with being in love. You're overwhelmed by the feeling of being in love. And let's be clear, everything that you had probably before your early 20s was not a real adult relationship by most people's standards. I think people would call what people had in high school like puppy love, high school love. When you're in your early 20s, it's real. It's the first real venture into adult love. It's the first real venture into even your parents being like, oh shoot, like, we can meet your boyfriend, we can meet your girlfriend, because in their mind this could be someone that you end up with. In your mind this could be someone that you end up with long term. Even marriage for some people that meet in college. So it's a very, very different and more serious situation. It can consume you to be in love and to feel like I need to show up in this love that I feel. I need to show them how much I love them. I need to prove how much I love them. And this is real love, and this is adult love, and this is a love that can last. The focus on reciprocity isn't there as much, isn't as front of mind as much in your early 20s when you're so busy trying to prove that you love them. And why I think that love can be a waste of time in your early 20s is because of the fact that you don't 100% know who you are. You're still in the stage where you're figuring out your boundaries. You're still in the stage of figuring out what makes me me. What do I like? What do I not like? What is socially put on me, and what is something that I've critically thought about and that I've decided I don't agree with this. You're still in that forming stage, and when you have someone else that you are so overwhelmed with love for them, you're so overwhelmed with their opinion of you, it can make you morph and shapeshift into what you think that they will like. And so at the end of your early 20s, with that love being all consuming, if that relationship ends, or even if it doesn't end, are you sure that the person that you are by the time you get to your later 20s is you, or is it what you transformed into with the influence of someone else and that influence of wanting to be loved by that other person? Some can see that as a waste of time. Many do see that as a waste of time. Many people that I know that were in relationships that were all consuming in their early 20s and it doesn't work out, absolutely will say that that was a waste of my early 20s. I spent so much of my time catering to this person and not enough time figuring out who I am. As I said, I find the pros in everything. So even if you have been through, you just ended a relationship and you're in your mid-20s and you realize that you spent so much of your early 20s caring about and catering to this person's feelings that you don't even know who you are anymore. You felt like you wasted your early 20s. You could have been dating, you could have been just having fun, you could have been focused on yourself, you could have been traveling, you could have been doing all these things. I get it. However, okay, I'm gonna hit you with some pros. You learned how to be selfless, okay? You know that you're lovable. All the insecurities that you might have had about yourself and whether or not someone could love you, I feel like should have been answered in the fact that you did have love, and whether it lasted or not, you were loved, and that should help you, you know, in a sense, develop that feeling of, hey, I am enough. I was able to be in a relationship with someone that did love me for however long that was, so it can happen again. It is possible for it to happen again and for it to happen better. And most importantly, you learned, and it will help you in your later 20s, that real love, okay, relationships, they're not like the movies, honey. People are fighting, people are arguing, okay? You're gonna have disagreements. You're gonna have to learn how to settle those disagreements. You're gonna have to learn how to settle those disagreements in a timely fashion, because people got things to do. Y'all have dinner, you planned, you guys are gonna watch this movie at 8. You just had an argument at 2. Fix up, because you're going to see the movie, you know? Expectations, reality. Seeking perfection, what is looking for perfection in a person versus what is, hey, this person has flaws and I'm willing to work with it and I'm willing to grow with them. I think all those lessons are important, and you learn those from maybe catastrophic relationships in your 20s, early 20s that were probably definitely a waste of time. The lesson is that, hey, relationships will end, whether romantic, whether friendship relationships will end, and you'll experience that in your early 20s, and it will feel like a complete waste of time that you even spent breath and air with that human being, okay, with that demon. But what you will learn, what you will take away is the fact that that breakup was terrible. That breakup was heart-wrenching, but you're still alive. That breakup was terrible. You didn't think you'd be able to crawl out of that place, but you're still here. You didn't think that you'd be able to turn that around. You didn't think that you'd be able to open up your heart again, but you did. And you've shown up, and you've healed, and you're ready and brave enough to try again. That's a lesson. That's bravery. You've been educated about relationships. You know how to advocate for yourself. You're not so consumed with pouring love. You're also evaluating if there's reciprocity, if you're being poured into as well. You're evaluating, does this person love me? Like, it is good to be in love, but am I being loved? And am I being loved in the way that I need to be loved? And most importantly, you learn how important compatibility is. Because when you're in your early 20s, it's about vibes. It's about Igbo and Shayo, good time, enjoyment. But I think when you start heading into your later 20s, you realize compatibility is huge. Compatibility in love, love in compatibility. Do we have things that we have in common? Are we working towards a similar goal? Do we want the same things? Ultimately, the time wasted in my early 20s, I'm grateful for, because I look at it as bone soup. So bones are the things, okay, that you could throw away. You cut off the meat, throw the bone away, and look at it as a waste, look at it as garbage. Or you could take those bones and you can make a healthy, nourishing, hearty soup that is delicious, that makes the room just swell with life and warmth and comfort. I mean, you could have the bones in the garbage, or you can have bone soup. Getting another age, getting another year of life is another year around the sun, another opportunity to try things differently, to change your life. And there's something exciting about that. I hope people that can use this video find this video and that it's helpful to them. So I'm gonna stop there. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.